Welcome back to the Margaret McLean Show. I'm your host, Margaret McLean, former prosecutor, trial attorney, and law professor. On the channel, we go beyond the headlines and translate what really happens inside the criminal cases, inside the courtroom, examine the evidence, the psychology, and the decisions that can change lives forever. So tonight, we're examining one of the most disturbing cases involving a teenager in recent memory, the case of Mackenzie Shirilla, who was the subject of the Netflix documentary, The Crash. I'll show you a picture. I'll bring her up. And here we go. Add to the stage. Oops, got the wrong one here. So there she is. And here's the story. In July of 2022 in Strongsville, Ohio, 17-year-old Mackenzie Shirilla pressed her foot flat down on the gas pedal of her Toyota Camry, reaching speeds up to 100 miles per hour. At one point, she was 5 full seconds of acceleration, just slamming that gas pedal right down. She didn't brake. She accelerated. She aimed her car like a missile directly into a brick wall, instantly stealing the lives of her boyfriend, Dominic Russo, and their friend, Davion Flanagan. The prosecution at trial called her hell on wheels and tried her for murder. The defense argued it was a tragic accident and possibly caused by a medical emergency. And the bench trial, so it was tried by the judge, not a jury. The judge didn't buy that a medical emergency or that it was an accident based on the evidence, and she called it a mission of death and ruled it was deliberate act and convicted Shirilla of murder, sentencing her to 15 years to life in prison. Now, several years later, the case is back in the spotlight following Netflix documentary, The Crash. I'm sure many of you have seen it. It has reignited debate about what happened inside that vehicle, what kind of person could carry out an act that prosecutors described as intentional. And there were reports from friends who painted a picture of a household with zero boundaries, a teenage girl given total freedom to heavily smoke marijuana. I mean, I'm talking heavily every single day. She was allowed to drive recklessly and smoke marijuana as she drove. And of course, she put it all on Instagram. And she emotionally terrorized her own family without a single consequence. Even at school, if she got into trouble, her parents did not punish her. They always took her side against the teachers and the principal. So the father claimed he just simply couldn't control her. He let her go. Her mother, who even now on recorded jail lines speaks to her daughter in a distorted, coded secret language to dodge accountability. In their opinion, their daughter could do nothing wrong. And now the entitlement has followed her into the legal system, of course. But here's another interesting twist of this case. There was a stunning blunder by her attorneys. The defense team missed her trial appeal deadline by exactly 24 hours. And they are taking her case to the Ohio Supreme Court, trying to use a leap year technicality to avoid the statute of limitations. I mean, as a lawyer, I'll tell you, if you miss a statute of limitations, you're cooked, and you could be legally liable as well. Now, at the exact same time, her prison records reveal 36 conduct violations, and I guess the rules just don't apply to Mackenzie Shirilla, even in prison. So when a teenager's toxic, narcissistic ego is fed by social media and completely unchecked by her parents, what happens when she faces her first real rejection? What happens when her boyfriend tries to leave her? Was this the ultimate act of teenage rage? Was it a calculated murder-suicide that failed? Or was it the tragic result of years of dysfunction, enabling substance abuse, emotional instability, and a desperate need for attention? What responsibility do parents bear when warning signs pile up for years? Can social media create a distorted sense of reality where image becomes more important than consequence? And when a teenager repeatedly, and I'm talking repeatedly, engages in dangerous behavior, at what point does parental permissiveness become negligence? So tonight, we're going beyond the courtroom and into the mind of the offender. Joining me is renowned psychologist Dr. Roger Rhodes. Together, we'll examine the psychological profile that emerged from the evidence, the family dynamics, and the role social media may have played. You know, this is not simply a story about a deadly crash. In my opinion, it's a story about warning signs, accountability, family influence, and whether this tragedy could have been prevented long before that car ever reached 100 miles per hour and slammed into the brick wall. So let's get started. And I will take here's a few pictures, though, I'll go through before I introduce Roger Rhodes. I know he's waiting back there, but that's Mackenzie. That's the car. I mean, look at that. I can't even believe she survived. And that's Davion Flanagan and his lovely family right there. He was a foster child. He's no longer with us as a result. And that's the boyfriend, Dominic Russo, and of course, Davion again. And that's Davion and his dog and his siblings. And that there you have the Shirillos. That's Mackenzie and her dad and mom, who have been highly criticized. There's her mom, and of course, more social media pictures. And again, this girl was absolutely obsessed with trying to be an influencer. So every day she's posting multiple times a day, you know, probably multiple times per 5 minutes. She's constantly posting, look at me, look at me, look at me. So every bit of her life was documented. And there we have her, she and her boyfriend. Of course, everything has to be perfect. And I am going to go back and I'll leave this one up because it's so sad. So now I will introduce Dr. Roger Rhodes. Hello, Roger. Welcome.
Hello, good to be with you.
It's great to be with you again. I really appreciate you coming back on.
Oh, thank you for asking.
Absolutely, and especially to discuss this crazy case, right? It's a not only big deal, it's a big deal. I agree.
Yeah. It is a flare of a warning to future generations.
You know, I can't agree with you more. And especially I've got 3 children myself, and we're going to talk about that. They're a little bit older now, but I remember going through that teenage phase, especially with one of my youngest child who did a lot of TikTok and all that. Now, of course, I'm really not that old, everyone, but I'm thrilled to say I have 2 little twin babies that my oldest daughter just gave birth to. So, you know, I do think going to future generations, and that's why I do this show too, so that I can, you know, maybe we can try to help somebody else out, right, Roger?
Yeah, we need to desperately readjust.
We really do.
Readjust. Yes, this is a small wave, and the tsunami is coming.
Yeah, I agree. And so let's think about this for a second. All teenagers, right, take selfies.
Right.
And they chase some sort of online validation. At what point does a teenager's obsession with her TikTok persona, at what point does that obsession cross the line into clinical cluster B narcissistic or histrionic behavior?
Well, when a teenager cannot discern between reality and that the computer generation, that's when you have all kinds of emotional issues just blow up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's what
definitely.
we're not well versed. I think computer came in, and TikTok and Facebook and all that came in and blew by the older generation. And so the structure that they had was not adequate for that generation. And so we have a whole younger generation go back by with the lack of accountability.
Yeah.
See, up until the computer generation, there was an element of accountability of choice. That your choices, I mean, let's be honest, teenagers were out of bounds every year. Okay, there wasn't like they weren't testing issues, but there was the element of boundaries. And
Right.
then the computer came in and all that generation. And for some reason, the last generation withdrew the boundary structure. And then what became important was the computer image. And whoever was, if you already had an element of histrionic or uh, narcissistic behavior, then you went from like a 1 to 10 in seconds flat.
And when you're saying the previous generation, which generation are you talking about specifically?
I think the what was I grew up in the, I mean, I went to school in the 70s, uh, at the early 70s. I would say right around late 70s, early 80s, whatever that generation was, that's when it began. And then from then on, ooh, buddy, whatever you clock, any parental, and I would really use the word parental very loosely in that, because what happened was they moved from parenting to a very odd friendship acceptance element and supportive
Why?
element.
Why do you think they right? Because when my parents and I, we it was a different thing. We weren't friends. I mean, we
Right, right.
loved my
That
parents,
parents
but
aren't
they
friends.
disciplined me. Right,
Yeah,
right,
right.
right.
They had, well, see, here's and what we're seeing is uh, probably many generations growing up boundaryless. They don't have any boundaries. See, when you say your parents weren't your friends, they had rules, they had consequences. You're talking about boundaries.
And
And
my parents influenced who I hung out with.
right, well, okay, that's also a structure. See, you had a structure that, but in this generation we're talking about, there is no, their boundaries are really Swiss cheese. And so that the ability to say no, see, a boundary, you've got to have a structure in which you can set and say no to. And we had in the 80s and early 90s a whole structure where people didn't say no at all.
Why was that though? Why did everything change to
I
this?
think we moved to affluence. I think that people became affluent and they were more focused on making money than the tough job of parenting. See, parenting was a tough job, but compared to making it in the business world, it was a harder job than doing business. And so parents threw up their hands, said, "There's nothing we can do about it." They then expect they had the illusion of society would create the boundaries, and then everything would be okay. And the society said, well, "We're not. That's not our job is not to parent." And when they did see, and that's what happened when they did let go of the parenting and had society take care of the parenting, the older generation blew up. Wait a minute, we don't need our society to be our parents. And so there were so many different versions that there was an incredible amount of confusion. And this child is a child of society confusion. Is what we're
Oh,
seeing.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I'm just saying right now that people are not going to believe. I'd like to say, oh, what she did, very different. And I'm going to say that that's going to at one point be the norm. And
I
that
hope
is a
not.
scary thought.
So I feel like on the documentary, right? The friends reported, and the documentary showed many times that Mackenzie's parents allowed her to smoke heavy amounts of marijuana as a young teenager, drive around recklessly without any
Yeah.
consequences.
Yeah.
So, what happens to a developing teenager's psychological boundaries when parents completely abdicate their authority in that regard?
Well, here's what's wild. They become personal deities. They are the beginning of the end. They're the ones who get to say what works and doesn't work, and that's how they operate. And because the parents have not parented but made money, then they hit up the parents to support their delusion. And so we have a bunch of deluded teenagers with parents that don't want to parent, and a society without rules. And so then chaos, you know, begins to develop. And so it was not why did she do stuff? It was why not? It was
Right.
if I feel wronged and I am the beginning and end of world, and I'm then want retribution, then in my world I take retribution.
Right.
And that is not that is not part of a consequential society. See, I think we're coming back. I think lately we're becoming much more consequential, and I mean it is really snapping people's heads. And
I
how
think it
and
might be. I think
yeah,
you're
and
right.
I think what you're seeing, and I think there's an example is a child shot kids to went into school and shot kids, and they just recently convicted those parents
Yes.
and held them accountable. And I think that's what's going to have to happen. That you can't just throw up your hands. That you're going to, if you're not going to hold them accountable, society or the law structure is going to hold the parents accountable and put pressure on them. So that then is how they're going to get parents to parent their children again legally.
I think that's an excellent idea. I've noticed too that this generation now, I don't know if it's just my daughter who's 29 and her friends, they've pulled back a little bit on social media. For example, my daughter won't allow me to post any pictures of her newborn babies at all or her pregnancy. Now,
There you
is
go.
that
There you go.
normal, or
Yeah,
is that
because
what they're
wait a
doing
minute.
now?
With computers, you know what flew out the door because we weren't monitoring it? Privacy.
Yeah.
See, and all of a sudden people were in people's business, and people don't need to be that far into people's business. You know, there's a stopping point, and that's the boundary. That's the bound. I've got a boundary, and my boundary is I'm not going to be an open book and seek approval. I'm going to be me in my life, and I'm going to have boundaries and rules, and I'm going to live by that. And I then am going to live around other people who have a like-minded spirit.
Mm-hmm.
But
Absolutely. What
man,
can the schools do about this issue? Oh,
wow, what can
oh, it's
schools
great.
do? Schools need to
Yeah.
get back to teaching school. That
Mm-hmm.
what happened was in that time is that teachers stopped teaching and began to babysit at all grades, all the way up through college. That we just have a whole generation of teachers slash babysitters running the show in education, and we've got to throw out the babysitter, come up with the rules, and then part of it that I think is going to happen is they're going to say if you bring your kid into school and they act out, It's not them that we're going to hold accountable. It's you that we're going to hold accountable. And that's going to get people's attention because
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be I think on some level, a dollars and cents issue that, you won't be able to pay your way out of this. You won't be able to use money to ignore the issue. That, okay, well, they did bad. Oh, they're children. It's terrible. They're going to say, no, it really wasn't them. It was you. I think they're going to come up with a boundary of an age of saying, up until this age, you're accountable. Now, once you pass that, they're accountable, and we'll then deal with them in the legal system once they become adults. But there is a clamping down and a boundary building structure that is going around in the country because we're reaping the consequences of how we behaved by throwing up our hand, letting them do, hey, well, oh man, that won't play. That will not play.
So do you think the schools should do a better job promoting good behavior, for example, and get away from the everybody deserves a trophy mentality?
Yeah, I think that we need to go back to what teaching was. Is that it's presenting information, helping a child be more informed. Okay, and along with that was the rules of behavior. That there's rules of behavior, and I think that needs to be set in. And again, I think how they're going to do it is I think they're going to hold the parents accountable. Your child acts up, we're not calling you to talk to them. We're calling the police to talk to you.
Yeah, back in the day, kids used to be expelled from school.
Well,
I
you
don't know if
bet,
they do
you
that.
bet.
Do they do
And
that anymore? I don't know.
uh, boy, I would.
I don't know the answer to that.
I'm trying to imagine how bad things would have to get that would bring about expelling. And in children's world now, who cares? Okay, so I don't have to come. I don't care because I have affluent parents, and they're going to subsidize me being a bum. So we have a whole generation of subsidized children bums.
That's a good one. I've never
It
heard of that one
I
before.
mean, look at, and as you go into more liberal areas, you're seeing the consequence of that. Oh, you want to do that? Fine. And here's what it looks like. You know,
Right,
that,
right.
that, that, see, I think what we're really seeing in the last couple of years is a real emphasis on consequence. And
Mm-hmm.
what we were before that was, we were using psychological mumbo jumbo to justify inappropriate behavior. Oh, well, here it's this. Either it's in the book and it doesn't fit, or it's not in the book at all. And so it's not a big issue. And that's not going to play anymore. I think that what you're going to have is you're going to have much more of a black and white thinking. I think we swung to the left, and I think we're going to see a swing back more to the right and to more of a structure. And then if something goes wrong, I think they're going to hit the parents. That's what I saw in this last one. I couldn't believe
Yeah.
it, man. The mother and dad, man, they brought them in, put them in jail, and then convicted them, put them in prison. Man,
Yeah.
let me tell you, if that
Yeah.
wasn't a wake up shot, I don't know what
Yeah.
was.
No, and two people are dead in this case. Do you think it's a shift from morality? Do you think it's also uh, people? There's less people going to church. I'm just wondering if there's a
Well,
less
yeah,
moral
well,
values.
if I I'm raising personal gods, why would I go to church? See,
Right.
church is about worshiping and embracing structure and abiding by rules. That's what that's all about. And so when they were going to church, that was part of the motivation. That was part
Mhm.
of the culture. So you're around other people saying, here are the rules, here are the rules, here are the rules, here's the consequence. So you picked up on that very well. And so that either you were a person of the society or you are a pariah.
Right.
And I think we're going to see that come back. I think that you're seeing much more of a swing to fundamental religion than you did before.
Right. And teaching kids right from wrong from the beginning, and that there are consequences.
Yes. See, there's and think we raised a couple of generations, no consequence.
Yeah.
And it was this child a great example of that? You bet. You bet. And I love the dad. Well, I just couldn't raise her. You just couldn't raise her. So
Yeah.
then they put her in prison, and she doesn't behave in prison either. Goodness
Nope.
gracious, man.
She doesn't behave in prison either. I mean, and then I also was reading some stuff on this case, and oh my gosh, they had some financial issues. They were going bankrupt, the parents, and then they got her car back so she could drive it. And I know. And then then here she's only 17 years old, and she goes and lives with her boyfriend. They're smoking weed constantly, just constantly. Oh, and doing all other drugs
wait a
too,
minute.
mushrooms and
It's
everything.
not about why, it's about why not. That smoking
Yeah.
weed constantly. Wait a minute. If I can smoke weed or drink alcohol or do whatever with no consequences, it's not why, it's why not.
Yeah.
The brain hasn't developed completely. I've not been any kind of structure. I believe I'm the beginning and the end. And so I'm going to do in my mind what I believe is right. Think of how scary that is. A bunch of little gods acting the way they want to.
Exactly. And I wonder how she got the money and how he got the money for all the drugs they did. It's not cheap. Didn't look like she had a job. I don't know.
Ooh-wee, bud. There's a million different ways to get it. And it will be interesting to see the structure they use. But that again is kind of a hailed behavior. If you're a part of the new generations, you're doing drugs. See, but later generations it wasn't like drugs weren't there. It's like, it's not worth it. It's not worth it to do that. And then we were moved into no consequences. And so they just like, whatever. And how you get it doesn't matter as long as I get it, whatever I got to do.
Yeah.
And we would be shocked by what she did daily to supply that level of a habit. Because we know weed's not free.
It's not free, and it's certainly addictive.
Well, without a doubt. And
Yeah.
If nothing else, your level of caring with weed goes out the door.
Oh, yeah.
I don't care. I don't care. And see, when you have a whole society raised in not caring, then wait a minute. If somebody broke up with me or talked to me bad or didn't give me the weed I wanted or didn't say I was the center of the universe, well, I can then interpret that as they've just asked me to kill them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then another thing that I thought of was, she's only 17. Is it possible she had marijuana-induced psychosis too?
Yeah. Boy, I love that. You're an attorney.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
well, I'm not
no.
defending her at all. But it does cause people to go into this crazy psychosis, for sure.
Wow, but if I've not taught them, if you take a hammer and put over your foot and you let go of it, it's going to hurt your foot. But I want to go into, does it cause psychosis? Man, think of the leap of that. No, man, you got to go back to basics and say, this is it. And if she was in a structured world, then she would understand consequences, and she'd have come to a place of, it's not, could I, where she'd have gone is it worth it?
Right. Because all of this stuff could happen, but nobody told her that these are the risks if you do that amount of marijuana at a young age, and then mushrooms and everything else she's doing to her developing brain at that point.
Right. And then what you're getting in, see, I love where you've gotten into uh, using the DSM-4 or 5, whatever number it is now, as 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 a reason for a poor choice.
Yeah.
See, that's throwing consequence out the door. See,
Okay. You're
it's
right.
like, as wait a minute, like, when you grew up, were there people that drank a lot?
When we grew up, no,
Yeah.
I mean, there were people that,
Oh,
but
well, there
you know,
was, right. But
yeah,
everybody wasn't, and alcohol was
right. No,
available.
right,
But
right.
but
If you
I knew
can
people that
handle
drank
it,
all the time.
right, right.
And ooh, and what all of them will say at this age is, if I'd have known what it was going to cost me, I would have never done it.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
a generation growing up say, you can do whatever you want, and it ain't gonna cost you a thing. And you can use guilt and shame to manipulate your parents into financing your distortion.
Mm-hmm. Oh
And
yeah.
that's scary. And I think you're going to see, again, I think you're going to see more of this popping up all over the country because we've raised kids under that structure. And so uh, even when alcohol was a problem in latter years, there was a heavy run on consequences.
Mm-hmm.
That you can do that, but if you come into this structure, it's not for free.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
There are consequences. So, Mackenzie still maintains that she has no memory of the crash due
Okay.
to a medical episode,
Wait a minute.
despite,
I go in and I shoot people and I don't remember it. Am I then free? Is memory
no,
a get out of jail free card?
absolutely not.
There we go then. No, it doesn't matter if she remembered it or not. Where it comes into, it was her car and her foot was on the foot feed.
Right. Right.
Now all we got to do is say the issue's accountability. Is she accountable no matter how much she smoked, how that smoking affected her? Does that keep her from being accountable? And the answer is no.
You're right. No, I agree with you
But
there. I guess
and
my
she
question, yeah, go
go on.
ahead.
No, I think that in her living situation, there were no consequences.
Right.
And all she just had to do was up the ante and make their life uncomfortable or make them shamed or frightened. And they gave in and financed what she was doing.
Oh
So she
yeah.
didn't say why. She said, why not?
Right. Yeah. But now I'm just curious psychologically, I guess I'm just trying to figure this out, but
Right.
she's saying she has amnesia. Do you think that's a conscious lie to protect her image or a psychological defense mechanism
You're going to
of
hate this, but
blocking out her
it
own
doesn't
actions?
matter.
No,
It
I know it
doesn't
doesn't
matter
matter,
with,
but why?
boundaries. Say see that's new thought. I love what you're saying because you're exhibiting new thought. Okay. But new thought throws out accountability and consequential behavior to have that. And
Right.
so all I have to do is come up with a reason to get out of jail free. That because of this is it. And since the only person in my head is me, because nobody can read my mind, then I can make up whatever I want that's going to benefit me as reality.
Yeah, no, I get that. I'm just wondering if you think she's lying. Everybody's talking about, do you think she's really, I know she's accountable, but do you
Yeah,
think she's lying? Do you
you're,
think she
you're going to hate
really
my
doesn't
answer. I
remember
don't
it?
care. I don't care at all. At all. I came from a generation, if you got in the car and went fast and the state patrolman stopped you, they gave you a ticket.
Yeah.
And you could have come up with 1,000 reasons and they said, well, talk to the judge about that. And they knew if they went to the judge's going to say, you're here and you're guilty and bye. And so there was a consequence. There was an element of an ouch. And so, see, what we're in the kind of new thought, we're trying to discover the motive of what they did. And is this motive real or not? And
Right.
I think that's a guessing game.
You're
Do I
right.
think she's lying? I don't know. And the only person who really, in truth, knows is her.
Right.
And I would say I would believe it more if it had no bearing on her guilt or innocence. Then if she said, that would have,
Right.
I believe, more meaning. But she so benefits by using that as her way. And we're seeing right there, just like what you're talking about, we're seeing how she worked her parents. She's
Yeah.
trying to work the system the way she worked her parents because it worked with her parents, and she's trying to see if it'll work within the legal system.
Yeah. Now
Yeah.
if you watching the documentary, the father of Davion, the football player who he was, he was a pretty good football player, and then he got injured and he couldn't play football. So then he got in with the wrong crowd. Now on the documentary, the father says he tried to tell him not to. He tried to say, you're getting in with the wrong crowd. I mean, what do you do if you're that? So that dad he was trying to do a good thing. He's fostering children. What would your advice be to that dad? Like, here's this guy who's 17 years old. What do you do? Lock him up in the house? Like, what's your advice to parents when you see your son or daughter getting in with the wrong crowd as a teenager?
Now we're getting into why in the world do we have speed signs on highways? Why? What's the reason for putting up speed limit signs on highways?
So you don't speed. So you don't go fast and kill somebody.
Oh, right. We make people aware. Now, does that stop some group from disobeying that?
Of course.
There we go. There. See, watch how I'm moving on with this. I'm throwing my logic. See, there is where you go to, is that you put up, okay, here's what you need to do to live here. This is the kind of behavior that you'll need to exhibit to be part of this family, for us to in any way, shape, or form support you. See, that's a boundary. That's a consequence. And then you leave the choice up to the child. Okay, you want to go out and act fine. I'm just not financing it.
Yeah, you have consequences.
Right.
Take the car away, take the phone away, all that stuff, or kick them out of the house. I hate the thought of kicking them out of the house because I'd hate to think of where they'd end up. They stayed with a friend.
Wait a minute. Hear this. You don't kick them out of the house. Their choices kick them out of the house.
That's true.
See, there's where it goes to. It's not about personality. It's about, there's the rules, and we're going to abide by the rules, and the rules are the best for society. The reason we have speed limit signs is so people don't kill each other. That's the reason it's there. It's not like, oh man, the highway department's a bunch of ugly thugs and they won't let you speed. No, that isn't how it plays. So, but we moved away from that, and we went into, well, there's deeper, bigger reasons. And if we consider that, we can see the motivation for doing that. And so we want to excuse their poor choice. It's that reasoning that I think is a very destructive tidal wave that she's just the poster child for.
Yeah.
That it's sad, because you have to ask yourself, wait a minute, with this boy, was there ever children in the past who played football, got hurt, and threw their life off?
Sure.
Oh, wow. Well, did they just go to prison?
No.
No, wait a minute. Wait a minute. They realize, wait a minute, here's life. And unless I adjust, Now, I'm not going into the fair or unfair that he got hurt in football, but that is part of life. You can't
Hmm.
control, and it does. So then a parent would come up and say, okay, the structure of what's going on has changed. I want to help you adapt to the new structure.
Right.
And if they say, well, I don't want to adapt, then if you have consequence thinking, you say, well, okay, you don't have to. I'm not going to force you, but you just can't do that for free.
Yeah. No, that's
And
good
I
advice.
am not going to finance you. And here's the same thinking is in AA. When do people seek help from alcohol addiction?
When they're
There's
at
a
the rock bottom.
right. They hit bottom. And how many times they say, let them hit bottom, or they're never going to have a chance to recover. And we've come up with, emotional mattresses so that when the child hits bottom, it's no big deal.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
it's scary having
Yeah.
somebody allowing somebody to hit bottom,
Scary.
because then, you're afraid, oh God, I hope he survives, if
Right,
you're a
but that's
parent.
not, whether he survives or not is none your business. If they're moving to making adult choices, and I do like that wait a minute, if a child does something in the structure of an adult, you judge them from the structure of an adult, no matter what their age is.
Right.
Right.
Right. So you start early then,
Oh, well, but
yeah.
at birth, if
Yeah.
you don't think the twins are
Yeah.
not of need of structure and boundaries, I'm sorry. Yeah, yeah, I love little babies, but you're going to wink your eye and they're going to be in college.
Oh, I know. Oh, believe
That's how
me.
it works.
Yeah.
It's you got to then. And here's the here's the hard thing. Whoever has sold parenting as an easy job has missed true parenting.
It's very difficult.
Right. And I think this is one of the most interesting things I've seen out there. They were talking about uh black people's behavior. I was listening to Charlie Kirk, and he said, do you know what the number one reason for improper black behavior is? And I went, God, I don't know. Maybe it's that racist or whatever. And you know what he said? The lack of
No.
black fathers. That when they came up
The-
with the welfare state and people made more money by kicking the dad out of the house, that's what they did. And so children grew up without a dad, and so no boundaries, no structure. And that led to the behavior we have.
Hmm.
And so then, how are we going to get black dads back in the house? How are we going to get parents to structure up and say, hey, here's the rules, here's the boundaries. And I think part of it is going to be through church. That parents
Hmm.
alone, we're going to find it very hard, but parents within a group get the strength of the group.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
And so there's where, see, in the now I hate to always use the phrase in the old days,
Yeah.
but in the old days, the most of the people you knew lived on the same block. They went to the same school. They went to the
Hmm.
same church. There was
It's true.
and so who was raising the kids? The truth is, everybody was. You know,
Yeah.
there wasn't "Don't touch my kid." What the feeling was, if my kid acts out at your house, treat them like they're yours,
Yep. Yep.
because we don't only have a family boundary and accountability, we have a society boundary and accountability. And that it's easier to parent when the society around you is equally parenting.
Right. Right. And you
And
want to set an example.
yeah, because we're not holding parents accountable, they're doing crappy parenting and they're living a life that does not support them being better parents. And there's church attendance going down.
Hmm.
and oh, let's just sit around and kumbaya and it'll all work. No, it will not. It will not do that. There's a this is the way we behave, and this is the structure that we're going to hold on to. And so you're going to see the societies that have the strongest and clearest structure are going to be the thrivers, and the people that have created a loose boundary issue. I always call it Swiss cheese boundaries,
Yeah.
are going to pay a deep price. You know, I think that when you begin to look there, that when a child has no accountability, they're dangerous.
Yeah.
Take a
And we
no.
saw that.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
We saw that in the David case that we talked about, the David
Yeah,
case out of
yeah.
LA. Yeah.
There it
Same
is.
issue. Exact
Oh
same issue.
wow, yeah. See, it's and now I say it's a country issue. It's not a East Coast, West Coast, North, South. No, you're going to see it everywhere.
Right.
And you know, if hopefully people are going to stand up and seek support to maintain a structure.
Right.
See, they
Yeah,
don't.
I hope so. It is good that Netflix put out the documentary because it does make people and parents think twice.
Oh,
What?
better believe it. And if you don't think I love that they had the parents who the kids shot up the school in and watched them get guilty, wasn't a wake up call, you bet. But are there going to be crowds that are going to blow that off and say that's no big thing? And
Right.
oh, meanie society and meanie rule makers and that's, and I say, let them say that, be the rule makers, and what's going to come down is it going to come down on those people's heads.
Right. Right.
And
You don't
I
have
would
the
say
victims.
that child can act out. That's why they have when you go back and what is it called legally when you contesting the charge?
Oh, appealing it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're going to use all their appeals up to the
Hmm.
level that they can afford appeals. They're going to use their appeals up, but then I cannot wait till they're at no appeals and there they are and they can't get out.
Yeah.
That is
And
going to
then
be a wake up call.
right. And so if she's up for parole in 15 years, they're going to look at her behavior. If she's had bad behavior over the 15 years and isn't accountable, then she's going to stay in there. The
Yeah,
parole board
well,
won't let her out.
I'll bring up a name of what we're talking about. You ready?
Yep.
Susan Smith.
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
That's right, my country. Okay. And you know, she dotted all the T's and dotted all the I's and crossed the T's and said it was this and they caught her and she just was up for appeal.
Mm.
And guess who showed up? The grandparents and the ex-husband.
Oh, good.
And they said no. And she back in.
Good.
Did she test things when she first got in? Yeah. And she paid the price for that. And over again, she'll come back because that's part of how she's learned to behave. And
Mm-hmm.
what's kicking her is, oh, I get out. And they say, no.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
And so I think that uh, is going to be the structure of better behavior is consequential interactions is going to create better behavior. And so then you have to have an educational system that has accountability.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
you've got to move it from being a babysitting culture and a kumbaya culture to a 1+1 = 2.
Yeah.
And say that's what we're here for. We're not here to make sure they're model citizens. We're just here to convey to them that choices equal cost.
Right. And also the concept of not allowing a device like the laptop or the phone to babysit your children. So my daughter can't stand it when she goes out to dinner and she sees a couple with young kids who just allow the kids to be on their, tablet playing
Oh, there you
games the
go.
entire time. She said,
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. I hope she
Because
doesn't.
that's not parenting. Wait a minute.
No, it's
That's not
not.
parenting.
No.
That's a mild form of abuse. They're abusing the children, and we've categorized that as okay.
Right.
But it's interesting that what we're seeing now is people. I saw a classroom the other day where they had little pockets for all the kids, and everybody had to come in and put their phone in the pocket before the teacher started the class.
Oh, good.
And I'm like, wow, there it is. See, that's a structure, that's a boundary, that's a rule. Okay. Then, because of that, I would say the ability of those children to learn go way up.
Right. Right.
But see, there's the thing that's really sad that when you said someone went to Harvard back in the day, that was like, dude, man, that's the smartest of the smart.
Yeah.
And what they found statistically is, who runs the major companies in America? People who went to trade school.
Oh, okay. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
that's it. See, there's been a shift because
Yeah.
people saw we brought in these people from the mine kumbaya culture, and they couldn't get the job done.
Right. That's
And
true.
so there is this, what we're seeing, and I think she's an example of that, is the backlash of a lenient society.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be
And
interesting to watch the parenting at the next generation. Right. So I did my best as a parent, but everybody thinks, well, there's something I could have done better. Right.
well, I think another thing that we never calculated was movement. I can remember, boy, now I'm going to age myself, but my grandfather died, lived, worked in the same town all
So did
his life.
my father did.
Right. But man, I'm in
And my
South,
grandfather.
grew up in Oklahoma. Lordy, it wasn't like we didn't think South Carolina existed. We just didn't study it much because nobody thought they'd go that far east.
Right.
And so, but I've been here for 30 years. Yeah. And that distance actually exhibits a structure of a lack of accountability.
Yeah, no, I get that.
But
Yeah.
see, if I grew up in the same town, people say me, I remember I grew up in a small town, and I wasn't known by my name. I was known as Charlie's boy. You
Right.
must be Charlie. Uh-oh. And that's the last thing you wanted the teacher to say to you, because you knew if you acted out, they were going to get on the phone. They called Charlie. Well, let me
Oh,
tell you,
yeah.
when Charlie came home, it was all over but the crying.
Oh, yeah.
I
Yeah.
got a
No,
call from your
100%.
teacher. See, there was a structure set up and a communication. But when we created distance, we cut the communication and we cut the accountability.
Yeah. I
And
don't know
so
if there's
people,
anything we can do about that now because, we have it's transportation and you can get a job in different areas like Boston or, I'm
right,
from
right. And
upstate
I
New
think there's
York.
going to have to be an adjustment for that. I think that came on us quicker than we could adjust to it.
Yeah.
And so that I think there's going
Like
to
I didn't want
be,
to stay in upstate New York.
yeah, see, and staying somewhere was being left behind in our generation.
Yeah, that was almost looked down upon in my generation,
Yeah,
right?
mine
So,
too. Mine
and,
too.
and I grew up in a wonderful place, wonderful people. In fact, like I said, my grandparents lived there, my great grandparents, and then my father and we were raised in a great community in upstate New York, and they knew
Right.
everyone. You're right, like
Wait a minute.
everybody.
You just spoke
What
wisdom. You just spoke wisdom.
I did.
Yeah, I grew up in a society.
Yeah, you're right.
Where's
But
where's the society now?
well, at the time, so when I was in high school, it was sort of it was cool to go to college someplace else. So I went to Boston College, right? And it
Yeah.
was just kind of cool to, go someplace that like, go to Boston or New York or wherever. But it wasn't like, I don't know, it was a different way of thinking, I think, maybe
Yeah,
starting with
yeah.
my generation.
Well, and that they assumed if you did A, B would happen, and what they found out, you do A and L happened, and they're
Yeah.
trying to
Right.
work that around, and so they're trying to adjust at the level of change, and that's very, very difficult. And so I think part of what is happening is people are going backwards and reviewing how people did it before
Mhm.
and try to repeat that as a way of getting through it.
Yeah. No, I think
And if you
that's
choose not to
interesting.
do that, then you're going to end up in jail. That's what's
Well,
going to happen.
maybe not, but
Yeah, well, people,
I know
yeah,
what you mean.
there's
Yeah.
well, there's always been loopholes in everything, but I
Right.
think that when, as a society, again, when I grew up in a town that I could do whatever, my parents weren't hovering over me, and I could have done whatever, but the people that I was around doing it knew my parents, and there was the structure. The
Right.
structure was community. And I
Yeah.
think that they're going to have to, society is going to have to come back to a way of creating society for things to work again.
I agree. That's very well spoken.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, I just
Yeah.
think I think that people were going to Boston or wherever because what it created was possibility, and that's what
Mhm.
drew you. You
Yep.
know, that I couldn't get the possibility where I'm at, and so I'll go here and I'll get the possibility. And what they're finding is that when you move, you're going into the abyss of community. You don't know what the community is.
Right.
And
And so
so,
you really need to, if you have to do that, though, you need to join things in the community, like join a tennis club, join, pickle, or, get involved in the kids' schools. So there would be ways to get a community, right?
oh, well, right. I
Yeah.
mean, uh, one of the, boy, now I'm going to really sound old. I'm saddened that they don't have square dancing classes in high school.
Oh, we did.
Yeah, I mean,
We did.
because that's how you met people. It forced you to interact with people and learn social skills.
Yeah.
What do they have now? Nothing. And
I don't
so,
know.
wait a
Yeah.
minute. And if I I'm having to work extra hard and have no structure to socialize, well, then I'm just not going. I'm going to go to the phone, and that's going to be my socialization.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
just makes you weird.
Well, I'll tell you one thing I noticed. So I taught law at Boston College, and when I first started teaching law there, it was around 2004. Kids would come into the lecture hall, and they would all be talking with each other, and I would have to quiet them down for
Yeah.
for a number of years. Okay, I'm going to start class now, and they're really loud, and I would take a bit. So then, in the last several years that I taught,
Uh-huh.
it was same amount of kids, no one talking at all. Every single
Right.
person
Well,
looking at their
because wait a minute,
phones.
talking to others is a skill set. You just don't come out of the womb being
They were like this.
a
They were just,
socializer.
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But nobody talked, and that was a huge difference. I noticed.
Right. And without
Yeah,
talking, there's no connection. Without connection, there's no accountability.
right.
So see, it's kind of a domino effect. And so
Yeah,
that's why I said that put up the phones, make them square dance. Then they learn that forces them to learn how to socialize with each other. And that then helps them make it through life of how to
yeah.
socialize with other people.
If I were to teach again, you know what I would do? I would have them put their phones in a box or something, right?
Yeah.
In the front of the class. And then I would say, okay, I'm not going to start teaching until for 10 minutes. You guys all have to talk to each other. that would work. It's because that really bothered me,
Right. And then the parents would call the administration and jack them up, and then the administration would call you and say, stop that silly crap.
That stuff like that happened.
Oh yeah.
Because by the way, they became, I'll tell you one thing. I caught a few people cheating, and I went to the head of the department, and this is the law department, right?
Right.
So I caught plagiarism and then absolute downright cheating. And I said, this plagiarized. And guess what? The administration refused to do anything about it.
Right. And what you have to
No
then ask yourself,
consequences.
do you think the administration may have got a reward for making that decision? See, they didn't do it in a vacuum. I guarantee you, somebody was in their pocket.
Yeah.
And so they realized if they held to the rule, it was going to cost them, and they would seek no benefits. But if they looked the other way, they would receive a benefit, and there was no accountability.
Yeah. So, it's really reached all levels of education.
Right.
And I stopped teaching. As a result, after COVID, it got worse after COVID.
Oh,
man, really
COVID,
bad, awful.
COVID was a death nail to America, man.
Yeah, but all of that got worse. And
yes, it did.
When I stopped teaching, I said, you know what? I'm done. So now I'm doing this.
Right, and doing it well, good stuff. And you could, and you know what I say to all that? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Exactly.
And so you're moving into an area where the possibility of drink is greater than in a classroom. Isn't that a sad statement?
It is sad, and I loved it. So I did, but I'm hoping to teach people about the law and have great conversations like this and make people think through the show. So that's
right.
We're accomplishing something.
The great example of it all is Jordan Peterson. And he was willing to say, I'll sacrifice it all rather than bend the knee.
Yep.
And now there are many Jordan Petersons out there, you included, that say, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not bending the knee. I'm not looking the other way. There's going to be a time, where the people who operate on you and fly your planes and put you in life or death situations better be qualified.
Yeah, I hope so.
But with no accountability, they don't have to be. They just have to show up, and that's very dangerous.
Yes,
and so if you are mentally unwell, what's going on is allowing people of deviant thought and behavior to hold their families hostage and stop them from thriving. See, for even in the plant world, in the biblical world, how plants move to a level of thriving is you had to prune them. Even the ones that did produce, you prune them to produce better. And I would say, where is pruning in America?
Well, what do you mean by that, though? Do you mean
accountability? Is the
accountability? Okay, but what if somebody does have like a mental illness? What do you suggest to do with them?
Then they have to deal with the consequence of being mentally ill. I mean, it's not their fault, but that let's not act like mental illness is a right now situation. People have been mentally ill forever.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And society went on. Wait a minute. How did people, and the people that were mentally ill survived? Because they learned to adapt. within what was the structure of society, and if they didn't, they died.
Right.
You know and we're beginning to see that
Yeah.
protecting them and making excuses doesn't make it better. It actually
Right.
makes things worse.
It does. So they have to
And
have accountability to stay on their medication or not give certain
exactly,
drugs.
exactly,
Yes.
and
No, I
that
get that. That you're right.
and
Yep.
who thinks medication is the cure? See, we've gotten into where people seek the cure, and man, there is very little cure. You know, recovery is not cure. You know, getting the disease into in a rescinding manner is not cure. It's a stopgap, and that's where people have just
Mhm.
they've distorted things and they've used different language and a different view to do it. And uh, again, a great example. I once heard an educator come up and talk about parenting, and she said, "Guess who the best parents in the world are?" And you know what her answer was? The highway patrol. And I
That's
said,
a good
what?
one.
And she said, yes. They said, number one, there's signs telling you the rules. When you get a license, you're saying, I got to take a test. They don't just hand them out. And if I don't pass the test, I don't get the license. The consequence is I'll walk if I want anything.
Right.
Okay. So here I'm saying, here I understand the laws. I've showed that I'm capable of following the laws. I understand the structure. Okay, then the highway patrolman sits on the side of the road and polices his or her stretch of land.
Right.
Now, if a person goes by and has broken the speed limit, the highway patrol puts on their lights and pulls them over. In what mood does the highway patrolman get out of the car?
Mad.
No. If he does, he gets fired. No, if highway patrolman gets out with a ticket book
Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah.
he calmly walks to the window, asks people to roll down the window, and the first thing he says is, "Do you know why I stopped you?"
Mm-hmm.
Because
You're right.
right in there, he's setting up a structure of accountability. If they say
Yep.
yes, no, whatever, it doesn't matter. He then recites that you were doing 70 in a 55. And based on this, the cost of that infraction is this. He doesn't yell at you. He doesn't point a gun at you. He doesn't threaten you. He just gives you the consequence of the choice because it was your foot on the foot feed that drove the car at that speed.
Absolutely.
Then and when he's through, he gives you the ticket and says, "Have a good day," and walks back to the car.
Yeah, you're right.
And if you don't pay the ticket, every time that gets worse.
It does. It
But
does.
what has happened even in that structure is they're doing their job and the people they stop act out.
Yeah.
And that I think they're going to clamp down more on that of
Right.
saying, you want to do that, you can do it, you just can't do it for free. You want to go to
Right.
class and be mentally ill, you can do that, but you can't do that for free. You can hold your family hostage with your mental illness or whatever. You just can't do that for free.
Right.
And just because you birth a child does not does not put you in a position that you are accountable for them forever.
True.
But you are accountable for them to have a boundary that is appropriate for their age.
Yep.
Yeah. So you got those two beautiful twin babies. They're
Yeah.
being raised, okay?
Yep.
And that then if they are surrounded by community, if they're surrounded by the community of family, if there is a structure set up and an accountability to the structure, they're going to thrive.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell Sarah Talk to her about the whole. I'll make her watch the show if she has time while she's
Yeah,
nursing.
and that parenting is best exhibited by highway patrolmen.
Yeah, no,
And when
that's
you do that,
very,
there's.
yeah.
But when
very
I
interesting.
don't put up the sign, if I then ignore people speeding, it doesn't take long for them to say, "Well, then I'm going to speed."
Exactly. Well said. Well,
Yeah, and it's.
thank you so much, Roger. Geez,
Oh,
you're
you're
always a
welcome. You're
wealth
welcome.
of information. You really make me think. You really
Well,
do.
yeah, I mean, every day, I think everybody in my life questions if I think, but yeah, I'm just, I would probably say people ask me all the time, what kind of therapist am I? And I say, I'm a duck therapist. And they say, what? And I said, yeah, if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck and it swims like a duck, it's a duck. It does everything a duck does.
Yep. I
And
like that.
that's how I operate. And I think also we've become a society that emphasizes and excuses problems instead of a society that seeks solution. Because man, there was a time when it was just when you go back and look at what some people did with so little and accomplished so great, those people
Yeah.
still exist. They've just not in the environment that where they can do that.
Right.
And I'm looking for us to revert back to that society and reward people who are ingenious and work within the structure that is created.
Yeah. Well said. Well, thank you very much for being a guest, and I can't wait for people to hear the show and discuss it online, because I think you have made some very valid points and given us a lot to think about.
Well,
So,
thank you so much for
well,
asking me, because I don't get
absolutely.
here if you don't ask.
Well, that's right. That's right. Well, thank you. And thank you to all my listeners out there. And don't forget to subscribe to the Margaret McLean Show, because there's a lot more in the future. And have a good night, everyone.